Hi, welcome back to Arizona Lifestyle 72 Sold podcast with me, your host, Holly Waxman, realtor with 72 Sold. And I'm so lucky today to introduce our special guest, Abbie Richie, here with Senior Savvy. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, gals.
Yeah, and of course, my favorite listing partner, my daughter, Britney Waxman.
Hi. So nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too, Britney.
Thank you, Abbie, for being here with us. I'm so excited for all of our listeners to be able to meet you. You are an amazing lady. Abbie, if you can just share with us your story. Were you born in Arizona, or how did you migrate here?
Yeah, I was not born in Arizona. I'm a native Californian, third generation. And my dad went to the great U of A.
Okay.
And then so did my brother. And my dad and his wife moved back to Arizona from California, I think in the 90s, and they bought a nice big house in Paradise Valley. They may have been giving away buy 1 acre, get 2 free at the time.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So they did have a nice big house there in PV. And I remember visiting here on holidays and just thinking, it's so hot. How does anyone do it? And though I've been living here now for 16 years and moved from the Bay Area.
What do you like living about here?
The weather is amazing. I used to think it was going to be just so hot, but there are ways to mitigate that. And I also like that there's just a real lovely sense of hospitality here. Mm-hmm. And people are genuinely nice.
Right.
So I remember moving here from the Bay Area and just, being at Starbucks or going to the local store, and people behind the counter, they're genuinely friendly.
Right.
And at first I was like, are these people for real? Right? But then I started to realize, you know what? There's no urban fatigue here.
Right.
You can drive easily. For the most instances, you can park easily. You're not living on top of people and having to hear and smell their cooking. So overall, there's a lifestyle here that's so relaxed and so resort-like that I had to make major changes to my driving when I moved here. I'm I am the only person on the road who is in a rush. And just because it's I'm just used to driving that way coming from San Francisco and Los Angeles.
Yeah, same with me too, and being from Chicago. And I agree with you 100%. I mean, a lot of people are from other places. It's a real melting spot per se, and people want to meet other people, and there's so many wonderful things to do. Mm-hmm. Well, thanks. I always like to, as being a realtor, I feel I'm an expert in our market and such like that, but I also want to be able to share with people that not only are we realtors, but we reach out to wonderful people in the community that are here to help us as well as others. And what I'm really admire about what I've learned about you, Abbie, is if you could share with us your expertise with computers and how to avoid scams and
absolutely. So about 5.5 years ago, I started a company called Senior Savvy, and we help older adults with their technology. Now, I know a lot of people will say, my clients included, why would you ever choose to work with us, right? A lot of my clients are 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s, and they're always like, why us? But the thing is that I grew up with my Nana and Papa, and I have a deep love and admiration for older adults, and I wouldn't be there unless I loved doing it. So I started working with people primarily living in the senior living communities, which are plentiful in Scottsdale and Phoenix. Right.
And they're very nice.
They're just beautiful. They're just beautiful, beautiful places to live. And I was teaching there and doing one-on-one tech support, and that's just really built out and grown over the past 5 years. And what I found is that older adults truly want to learn to use their technology. They want to engage with family and friends. They want to remain relevant and be able to text with their grandkids. And so there's a prevalent myth out there that says that older adults can't or they don't want to, but truly, technology has nothing to do with your age, and it has nothing to do with your aptitude. It has to do with your attitude. So if there's a desire to learn, you're going to do it.
I think that has to do with a lot of things. My mom suffered with cancer for 10 years, but she had an amazing attitude. And, you know,
It's what kept her going.
right.
Yeah.
It's what she wanted to do. You know, think positive.
Yes. And so when I'm working with an older adult, and a lot of times they feel stupid, they feel dumb, and you know, they'll say, "I don't know how to do this. No one's ever taught me. I'm so stupid." I'm like, "Oh, no. We're going to stop it right there, because you know so much about other things that I know nothing about." And so I always value their wisdom and always value their experience that they're bringing to the table. But at the same time, I want them to know that all this tech stuff changes all the time. So even if they were, studied, information technology 30 years ago, it's all different. It just keeps changing.
But Abbie, the other thing is, even myself, I'm not a senior yet, but knowing about scams, or just even for other people, that's what I'm interested in, or how to organize your passwords, or, how can people of all ages be able to have some of your expertise? And if you could share that with us.
Gladly. You may have to tell me to stop at some point. So let's see. Something that we all deal with in one way or another is the use of passwords. We just can't get away with it. But what I've found is that typically, if you're under the age of, let's say, 60, you're pretty comfortable using a password manager like LastPass, OnePass, or maybe the Safari keychain.
Is there one that you recommend more?
It kind of depends if you're sharing it with your family or not. And so if you're sharing it with your family or your staff, LastPass is a great way to go. If you're just using it for yourself, OnePassword will work really well. But that would be my first recommendation when it comes to managing your passwords, because you only need to remember one master vault password.
Now, is that secure? Because I feel sometimes, even if I take a picture with my phone, that on the iCloud, that everybody in the world is going to see it, and I feel, I've been watching Netflix at night.
I don't dive too deep into paranoia. It's like we still have to do this stuff regardless, and there are ways that you can be safer, definitely with hiding your location, for instance. However, I want to get right back to this password. Is that safe or not? It is safer than reusing the same password across multiple accounts. And that's what people do. We have one kind of password that maybe we have, maybe it's the password of the year. And then we just use this across multiple accounts. Typically, people are using the same password across 3 accounts. Not really thinking much about it. Maybe you're, putting a little exclamation point at the end, or your birthday, or putting your 2 dogs' names together, or something like that. But the thing is that some of these accounts are not that secure. And so you want to make sure that your password is as unique and secure as possible, which a password manager is going to allow you to do. But coming up and reusing that same password over and over again isn't the way to go.
Interesting. I often have also a password like little phone book.
When my mom pulls out this password phone book, you should pull it out right now and show the
I use password managers too, but I also like to have like a hard copy of things as well,
which is really smart. Yeah.
So I have it on the website, but also I keep like a hard copy and I put it in my vault. So I don't necessarily just pull it out. I just keep it at home if God forbid.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the little password books that people write in. First of all, it's hard to write and rewrite and erase. But second, I have helped so many people over the years try to find that lost password book, because it's small. It gets hidden in between files. Maybe it gets tossed under the bed or behind the desk. And next thing you know, I'm on my hands and knees helping you find your little tiny password book. So I typically recommend one that's a lot bigger, that has larger spaces to write in, and doesn't look like a password book.
Right. And then how about, I know myself, I've been scammed before on the computer. Is there any words of wisdom that you can give us about how to avoid that?
Yeah, I would say typically there are 3 telltale signs of a scam. Okay, so if you're receiving it in an email, the first thing I recommend you do is you look to see who it's really from. Now, at face value, an email may look like it's from your bank. It may look like it's from Netflix. It may look like it's from another retailer that you're just 100% not suspecting. But if you click on the email address, it may say that it's from Netflix, but when you click on it, you will see who it is really from. And a lot of people don't do that, but that would be the first thing I would do is check to see, is this really from Netflix? Because it would have a company email address over a public email address like Gmail or Yahoo. Okay, so number one, check to see who it's from. Number two, look for grammatical errors and typos. You will definitely see them if it's a scam. You're reading, and sometimes we just breeze on by it and don't think too much of it. But if it's a company issued email, there will not be typos in there.
Right,
okay.
Right.
And then the third thing is there's usually a heightened sense of urgency. Click here or you're going to lose all your email. Click here or you've exceeded your iCloud.
Right.
Click here, and always this heightened sense of urgency is what gets us to do stupid things.
Right.
We just feel like, oh, I got to do this right away, right? Or else, ... So those are the three telltale signs that it's a scam. And, I like to say, I still believe in miracles. I like, to believe the best. And I like to get excited about really exceptional things coming my way. But if it seems too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
Right. That's good information.
Yeah.
Anything interesting to you about computers or anything, Brittany?
What's your number one advice to some people? What is their biggest questions sometimes when you get to meet them or anything of that?
Yeah, a lot of times people will say, I need a new phone. What should I get? Okay. Or do I need a new phone? Or how much longer is my computer going to last? It's doing this or this or this.
Right.
So typically devices do have a shelf life. I found that Apple devices last longer than PCs or an Android device. And when you are unable to update your software, meaning the device can no longer take the latest update, that's a security risk. And for that reason, you want to get a new device. So that's really the number one thing. If you can no longer keep your device up to date, it's time for a new one. Now, I've worked with people who are still using Windows 7 because they love Windows 7, believe it or not, but that device is not secured. And so that's a risk. You need to get a new computer, or it's not even, you can't even update it at this point. It's out of service. So another thing I would recommend, a lot of people ignore this, is they do ignore the software updates. And so if you're on an Apple device, the software update pops up. It usually shows up in your settings app. It looks like a little one red badge. And a lot of people overlook it because I'm sitting next to someone, I'm like, oh, you've got a software update. To me, it looks like a check engine light on a car. Right. Okay. So I'm not going to ignore that, especially living in the desert, right? I don't want to get stuck on the side of the road. Maybe I can go one day, maybe two, maybe three max, but I'm going to take that car to the mechanic as soon as possible. And in the same way, people just, avoid the software updates because they don't want anything to change and nothing in the description appeals to them.
Or they might be afraid that they get a new update and they don't know how to work it.
Yes. So usually, the changes are minute, but in every software update, there are security patches. And for that reason alone, you want to lean in and do it.
Good information.
Yeah.
And I've also worked with people who may not have done their software updates in years, seriously, since they bought their computer. Oh, wow. And now things start to go wonky, right? And at that point, it is hard to take a 5-6-year-old computer that's never been updated and bring it up to speed. So you just want to kind of bypass those issues and keep your devices up to date.
Good information. Another thing I really admire about getting to know you is you are just so amazing. If you could share your story about, your children and your life and how you are a really amazing entrepreneur.
Oh, thank you. That's really sweet. Well, I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, 4 generations on both sides. We're all crazy hardwired people in my family to get stuff done and to run businesses and to start things. And I had a previous company before I started Senior Savvy providing educational services. And truly, like, I loved it. It was great. I was feeling very, very satisfied and secured for 15 years. And when my company dissolved in 2017 or so, I really didn't know what else I could possibly do. And I tried applying and applying and applying. And I actually got hired at another educational consulting firm 3 months. And then they let me go because I wasn't like good for their culture, which hurt me so much because I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible, right? Like I haven't been unemployed and so now I'm unemployed. Nothing was panning out. And I just decided, with this extra time I had, I was just going to volunteer and serve because when I have extra time, that's what I want to do. So I started helping my in-laws at the time with their tech. They always had they have questions after questions after questions, and they were downsizing, and then their neighbor, and then they needed help. And then I found myself like in the span of 3 months or so, just helping a lot of older adults with their technology. And I thought, you know what? I like this. Like, this is good. This makes me feel really good because I had grown up with my Nana and Papa. I had spent a lot of time with them. I love being with older adults. I just think they're the best people on the planet. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I got to see if there's a need for this or not. I had never thought about it. And so I remember in one day in January, I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to see if there's a need. I called the 5 senior living communities in a 5-mile radius of where I live, and I offered a free workshop. This was sort of the model that we did at my other company, but I had not written the workshop. And I didn't even know what I was going to teach, right? But that's what us entrepreneurs do. Like, we run before we crawl. And I offered a free workshop on cell phone secrets for seniors. And seriously, I made it up just because I like alliteration. And by the end of the day, I had 3 bookings. I was like, ooh, this thing's got legs, right?
Right.
And then by the end of the week, I got 2 more bookings. And that's kind of how I started my business. And it took me a while to get things going. And I remember talking to my dad one time, just being like, I don't know how to grow this. And like, it just seems, how? And he said, Abbie, there's a golden pony under all this poop. And I was like, oh, Dad is, but he's so right. And, he's like, just keep digging. And actually, what's come of it is just like thousands and thousands of people that we've been able to help with their technology and help them be safer online, help them be more connected. And the business has just grown and grown since then.
That's terrific. Well,
how many years has it been?
5 years.
Oh, wow. That's
great.
incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for joining us. And it's somebody that Britney and I we love working with and introducing to our clients.
So a quick question is, how do people get in contact with you?
Oh, yeah. You can reach me at seniorsavvy.net. That's NET. And or find me on LinkedIn, Abbie Richie. I'm there, or Instagram, Abbie Richie, and I'm just posting videos and tech tips all the time.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Abbie and Britney. And until next time, thanks for joining us at Arizona Lifestyle Podcast with Holly Waxman. And bye for now.